Hey everyone, welcome back. If you are new here, this channel is primarily about IBP. Implementation deep dives, configuration walkthroughs, planning best practices are some of the things that we discuss in this channel. That's been the core of what I do here, and it's what I spend most of my time as a working professional. But today, I am going to do something little bit different, and I want to explain why before we get into it. One thing I have genuinely enjoyed about working in the demand planning space for as long as I have is that the problem is always the same. How do you take messy, imperfect sales history and turn it into a reliable demand signal that a business can actually plan against? But the approaches to solving that problem are incredibly varied. IBP solves it in one way, and it's a way I know very well. But I have always believed that if you only ever look at a one tool, you stop seeing it clearly. You stop being able to tell the difference between this is genuinely the right design decision and this is just how I have learned to do it. So periodically, I make a point of sitting down with other platforms, not to compare them against IBP, not to rank them, but just to understand how does this tool think about the problem? What decisions did the people who built it made and why? That's what today's video is. I have been spending time with a platform called DemandIQ, an end-to-end demand planning tool, and I want to walk you through it the same way I would walk through any platform I will be evaluating. Now, for those who live and breathe IBP, here's the frame I would suggest holding as we go through this. You are going to recognize the territory immediately. Data ingestion, statistical forecasting, consensus demand planning, cycle tracking, Demand IQ covers the same fundamental workflow, but the design decisions it makes along the way are genuinely interesting to examine. Some of them you will look at and think, yes, that's a clean way to solve that. Some you might think, IBP handles that differently, and I understand why. Either way, I think there's a real value in seeing how another well built tool approaches the same core challenge. That's the spirit of this, not a verdict, it's an exploration. Let's get into the platform. What are you going to see is not another spreadsheet tool or a bolt-on analytics module. DemandIQ covers the complete S&OP cycle from raw sales data upload all the way through a single signed-off consensus demand number that your entire business can plan against. Let me start by framing the problem this platform was designed to solve. Before we talk about the solution, let's be honest about the problem. Because every planning team will recognize at least one of these 6 pain points. Manual spreadsheets. We consistently hear from planning teams that they are managing 20 to 30 different Excel files per planning cycle. Version control becomes a full time job. Forecast errors. Industry research puts average MAPE, that's a weighted mean absolute percentage error, somewhere between 35 to 50%. At that error rate, you are systematically either building too much stock or running out at the worst possible moment. No single source of truth. Sales has a number, marketing has a number, supply planning has a number. Getting them to agree can take weeks of meeting, the time which the business does not have. Outlier blindness. A promotional spike or a data entry error in 1 month can distort your entire statistical baseline for the next 12 months if nobody catches it. New product guesswork. Without proper NPI modeling, new product launches are planned on instinct. That leads to either costly overstock or early stockouts that damage customer relationships. And zero auditability. When something goes wrong, and it will, there's no record of who changed or what or why. That makes regulatory review and root cause analysis almost impossible. This slide shows the architecture of the platform at a high level. And the key thing that you want to notice is that it's a single connected system. It's not a collection of a separate tools stitched together. The 5 steps pipeline across the top is the core planning workflow. It starts with the data ingestion, uploading the sales history via Excel or CSV with automatic validation. Step 2 is the sales history intelligence layer, a familiar grid where planners can view, filter, and edit data at SKU level. Step 3 is where AI assisted cleansing and outlier detection runs, catching promotional spikes and data errors before they distort our forecasts. Step 4 is the statistical forecasting engine. Multiple algorithms running simultaneously, each backtested per SKU with the best fit selected automatically. And step 5 is consensus demand planning, where commercial intelligence is layered on top of the statistical baseline, overrides are versioned, and the final number is locked down with a single sign off. Supporting that pipeline are four modules: the PLM lifecycle module for new product launches and phase outs, the analytics dashboard for management visibility, access control and audit for data governance, and full Excel and PDF export for leadership reporting. Let's start with how data gets into DemandIQ, because the quality of your output is only ever as good as the quality of your input. Planners upload sales history via standard Excel or CSV files. No proprietary format, no IT project, no data transformation work required before upload. The moment a file lands, DemandIQ runs automatic schema validation. It checks that all required columns are present, that formats match, and flags any issues before a single record is written to the database. The deduplication engine is particularly important for teams consolidating data from multiple source systems. It prevents the same transaction from being counted twice, a surprisingly common cause of inflated baselines in manually managed environments. Every row is uniquely identifiable at a certain granularity. Suppose it's at a SKU channel region. That granularity matters because your planners are always looking at the same validated dataset, segmented correctly for their region. The bar chart shows what this looks like in practice. Monthly sales volume for the current year versus the prior year, visible immediately after upload. Planners can see seasonality, growth trends, and anomalies at a glance without building a single pivot table. And the 4 KPI at the bottom: 100% schema validation on upload, data ready in under 30 seconds, zero duplicate records, and multi year history uploadable in a single operation. DemandIQ addresses one of the most unappreciated problems in demand planning: the dirty data. Most planning systems know their data issues: promotional spikes, data entry errors, system migrations. These all leave scars in your sales history that, if left uncleansed, will permanently distort your statistical forecasts. The line chart tells the story perfectly. The red line is raw, uncleansed sales for a single SKU. You can see two massive spikes, one in April and one in August. These are promotional events that inflated that month's sales history by over 150%. The green line is what the cleansed baseline looks like after DemandIQ's AI has detected and corrected those outliers. Here's what makes our approach different: we don't just autocorrect and move on. Every detected outlier goes through a four-step process. First, the AI scans the history and flags anomalies. Second, planners see these raw versus cleansed data side by side before making any decision. Third, no change is applied without explicitly being signed off by a planner. Human judgment is never bypassed by automation. And fourth, every correction creates an audit trail: who approved it, when, and why. For large datasets, bulk approval lets planners sign off on multiple corrections at once. And configurable sensitivity thresholds means you can tune the system to your business's tolerance for variation. The bottom line: clean data going in means accurate forecasts coming out. Now we get to the heart of the platform: the statistical forecasting engine. Most planning tools ask planners to choose a forecasting method. That's the wrong approach. Planners should not need a PhD in statistics to run a planning cycle. DemandIQ takes a different view. Run all the algorithms simultaneously, backtest each one against the actual historical data for every SKU independently, and then automatically select the best performing model as the default baseline. The bar chart on the left shows this in action. For this SKU sample, Arima achieves a WMAP of just 8.4%, meaning the forecast is within 8.4% of actual sales on a weighted average basis. The naive baseline, which is what most Excel models effectively use, comes in at 22.7%. That's nearly three times the error rate. Arima, in this case, is the best fit for 38% of the portfolio, as you can see in the pie chart on the right. Whole Winters handles 27%, exponential smoothing 19%, and Croston, which specifically is designed for intermittent low velocity SKUs, handles 12%. Every product gets the right model for its demand pattern. 2 points I want to emphasize. First, this is fully automated. No manual model configuration is required from your planning team. Second, planners retain the ability to override the algorithm selection for any SKU where their domain knowledge warrants it. The system recommends, the planner decides. The consensus demand planning module is where statistical rigor meets commercial reality, and it's where most planning processes either succeed or fall apart. The waterfall chart on the left shows exactly how the consensus number is built step by step. An example is for the quarter 2 cycle of 2025, we start at 185K units. That's the pure statistical baseline. The field sales team adds 13K units based on known pipeline opportunities that aren't yet in the sales history. Marketing then reduces by 7K units, adjusting downward for promotion that's been pushed to quarter 3. The NPI team adds 16K units for a new product launching mid quarter. Final consensus lands at 207K units. Every step of that movement is visible, attributed to a specific user and versioned. You can always answer the question, why did the forecast change? Because it's all right there in the waterfall. A couple of features I would want to highlight. Multiple override rounds are supported within a single cycle, so commercial teams can iterate as market intelligence evolves. And one consensus is reached, a lockdown mechanism prevents further edits. Everyone is planning from the same frozen number. This is what we mean by one version of truth. Not one version that everyone grudgingly accepts, but one version that everyone can see was built transparently with every input visible and every change explainable. This tool is able to answer a question that every S&OP leader should be asking. What are we getting better at forecasting, or are we making the same mistakes cycle after cycle? The line chart tracks the WMAP forecast error across 6 consecutive planning cycles for 3 regions. All the 3 lines are heading in the same direction, down. One of the regions went from 24% error at cycle 1 to under 10% by cycle 6. Another region which started in the best position is now at 8.4%. The third region, which started hardest at 28%, has improved to 13%. That 59% average WMAP improvement over 6 cycles is not accidental. It happens because DemandIQ makes every cycle's performance visible and comparable. Planners can see which SKUs they consistently overforecast. Managers can see which regions have a structural bias. And the system cycle snapshots surface the key movements automatically. So the S&OP meeting preparation time drops by 65%. Real-time bias detection is particularly powerful. If a team consistently overforecasts their region by 15%, that pattern will show up here. And it opens a productive conversation about whether the overrides being applied are adding value or introducing noise. And the note at the bottom is worth emphasizing. All of this is directly exportable into your existing board reporting templates. No manual reporting building. The insights are already there. DemandIQ just makes them visible. Portfolio change is one of the most disruptive events in any planning cycle, and most systems handle it badly. DemandIQ's PLM module was built specifically to manage the full product lifecycle without breaking into the existing forecasts. The area chart tells the story of a product transition. The teal line is a new product introduction, starting from zero and ramping up to full volume over 9 months, following a configurable S curve. The red curve is the legacy product being phased out, declining gracefully from full volume to zero over the same period. In a well managed transition, these two curves are the mirror image of each other. 4 capabilities power this. The NPI launch wizard lets planners set up a ramp up curve with configurable parameters, how quickly demand builds, what the peak volume target is, and when the product reaches maturity. Crucially, the NPI volume is added to the forecast without distorting the statistical baseline of any existing SKU. The phase out wizard does the same in reverse. Declining demand curves are modeled for retiring products, so the supply team isn't caught holding excess inventory when a product exits. Like for like substitution handles the case where one product directly replaces another, transferring the demand history so the system has a valid baseline to work from day one. And cannibalization modeling prevents the common mistake of double counting volume when two products compete for the same customer spend. All of this is tracked in a dedicated PLM register, and every event automatically reflects in the statistical baseline. No manual adjustments needed. This is the view that the SNOP leadership team will open every Monday morning. The analytics dashboard. The design principle is here simple. management visibility without needing to navigate the planning grid. The four KPI tiles at the top gives the health of the planning cycle at a glance. The cycle portfolio WMAP is 9.2%, which is down to 2.1 percentage points versus the last cycle. That's a positive trend. Planner coverage is 97%. Almost every SKU has an active, up-to-date forecast. Three open PLM events are in progress, two NPI launches, and one phase out. And cycle completeness is 100%. All regions have signed off. The regional accuracy bar chart on the lower left, where our planning is strongest and where it needs attention. One region is at 93%, another is lagging at 86%, and that's the conversation you want to be having in your S&OP meetings. What's different about one region versus the other, and how do we close this gap? The donut chart on the right shows planner behavior in this cycle. 48% of the SKUs were approved as is. The statistical model was good enough that no override was needed. 34% received a commercial override, 8% involved PLM events, and 10% are still pending review. That pending review number is important. If it were 30%, you would know your planners are behind schedule. If it were 0%, you would wonder whether the process is too automated and human judgment isn't being applied where it's needed. Demand IQ gives you the data to ask those questions. For enterprise customers, data governance and access control are non negotiable. And Demand IQ is designed with this mind from the ground up. The platform has three distinct role types. System admins have full visibility across the entire platform. All regions, all data, all user management functions, and complete audit log access. This is your IT or planning operations team. Regional planners are locked to their assigned region. They can ingest data, edit history, run forecasts, apply overrides, and create PLM events, but only for their region. They have read only visibility into other regions, so they can provide context in S&OP discussions without being able to inadvertently modify someone else's data. Management viewers have dashboard only access. They can see everything, export to PDF and Excel for reporting, but cannot edit anything. This is the right access level for your CEO, CFO, and regional general managers. Authentication is JWT based. That's industry standard stateless session management. Every session is time limited and traceable to a specific user and device. The activity log at the bottom shows a week of real time user activity, login events, and data edits by day. The midweek peak is exactly what you would expect during an active planning cycle. The weekend drop off confirms the system isn't being used after hours without oversight. And critically, every login, every data view, and every edit is logged with a timestamp and user identity. For regulatory compliance reviews or internal audits, that log is always there. Let me bring this home with the numbers that matter most to a leadership team. What does Demand IQ actually deliver? The before and after chart tells you the story in four metrics. Forecast error. Before Demand IQ, the industry average WMAP sits at around 38%. After implementation and 6 cycles of improvement, customers are achieving around 9%. That's a 76% reduction in forecast error, which translates directly into lower safety stock costs, fewer emergency procurement events, and better customer service levels. Cycle preparation time. Before, planning teams typically used to spend 10 to 12 days preparing for each S&OP cycle, gathering data, cleaning it, building spreadsheet models, chasing approvals. With Demand IQ, that drops to 4 days. The system does the heavy lifting. Planners spend their time on judgment calls, not data assembly. Planner capacity. Today, a skilled planner might actively manage 200 to 250 SKUs. With Demand IQ's automation handling the statistical baseline and anomaly detection, that same planner can meaningfully cover 650 SKUs. You either need fewer people for the same portfolio or your existing team can take on a much larger one. S&OP meeting preparation. From 14 hours of manual effort building to just 3 hours. The dashboard and cycle snapshots generate the content automatically. The four value pillars on the right summarizes the strategic case. One version of truth, proactive rather than reactive planning, planners empowered rather than replaced, and a system that fits the way planning teams already work. We have covered the full platform today, from the problem that Demand IQ was built to solve through every major capability to the measurable business outcomes our customers are achieving. The question I would like to leave you with is a simple one. What would it mean for your business if your planning team could cut forecast error by a significant portion? run a full cycle in 4 days instead of 12, and walk into every S&OP meeting with a single agreed number that every function trusts. That is what Demand IQ delivers. And the path to getting there is straightforward. First, schedule a live system walkthrough with your planning team. Not a polished demo, an actual session where we load a sample of your data and walk through a full planning cycle together. That's usually the moment when planners move from interested to convinced. Second, we pilot with a single region. Pick your most complex region or the one where forecast accuracy is most painful and run a 3-month parallel. Your team keeps running their existing process alongside Demand IQ so they can compare outputs directly. Third, and this is one of the things customers consistently highlight, full rollout is achievable within a single S&OP cycle because there's no local installation, no data migration project, and no retraining of planners on an unfamiliar interface. The go live timeline is weeks, not in months.